So Patrick Beverley is out of the NBA. He's signed to play for a team overseas for the upcoming season. And I don't know about you, but he's just one of those guys who's out of the league that I am just not gonna miss.
Oh, not at all. I mean, we hated him from the jump. Him and Dame used to go at it. And it kind of reminds me of this recent thing with Noah Lyles. Like everyone's saying, he went to the Olympics, he backed up the talk. Patrick Beverley, he talks a lot.
Can't back it up.
Cannot back it up at all.
Start talking about Patrick Beverley. If you haven't already, make sure you leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. Now, before we start, we probably should have mentioned that Patrick Beverley once upon a time was actually a valuable NBA player. I mean, he wasn't amazing by any means, but he was a hard-nosed, defensive-minded point guard who could hit the occasional three-pointer and get under his opponent's skin. Like, that's valuable. And his story, honestly, at first was kind of an interesting one. I mean, he spent 4 years overseas playing in Ukraine, in Greece, in Russia, before he finally got his chance to play in the G League, and after only 1 week with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, the Houston Rockets called him up.
I gotta respect him for that at least. This dude worked his ass off. Like, he's not some phenomenal shooter. He doesn't have a crazy handle. He's not super big or anything. The dude just works hard, plays hard defense, but that kind of like hard-nosed, aggressive style would basically immediately backfire for him. In the 2013 playoffs, Game 2, Thunder coming off making the finals the year prior, had a very good chance to maybe return to the finals again, and who knows what could happen. But then, as Russ is about to call a timeout in Game 2, Patrick Beverley just dives in going for the steal. In the process, Russ tears his meniscus. I'm not willing to call this a dirty play because I don't think he intentionally was going for his knee, but just insanely reckless.
It's horribly reckless. It's one of the most reckless plays possible. And like, Pat Bev has to know that Russ is just calling the timeout. And I get it, he's an irritant, but like, dude, he goes straight through his right knee.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta know there's massive potential to injure your opponent there. And like you said, Thunder were a 60-win team that year. Westbrook tears his meniscus. He actually finished this game, which is unbelievable in and of itself, and the Thunder would win. They'd beat the Rockets in 6 games, but I mean, without Russ, they weren't winning the NBA championship, and they go out to the Grizzlies in the next round. And that was kind of the first big incident that put Pat Bev on the map, and he and Russ would go at it again the next season when, I get it, he's an irritant. He's trying to make Russ uncomfortable, but he basically tries the exact same thing.
Yeah, dude's diving out his legs again. Like, that is one thing you cannot do in basketball. I know you can go for the ball. That's fine. You got to play hard, dive to the ground. Do not dive into dude's legs because you can very seriously injure someone.
Yeah, for the rest of his Rockets run, he didn't have any like major incidents barring just, over aggressive defense here and there, getting in the face of some opponents here and there. Like, he and Dame went at it a bunch of times, especially in the playoff series that the Rockets and Blazers played against each other. But his run with the Clippers is where a lot of this BS really started. He was traded to the Clippers in the 2017 offseason as part of the trade that landed the Rockets Chris Paul. To his credit, he was a vital member of that Clippers team that played the Warriors tough in the 2019 playoffs. He managed to bait Kevin Durant into getting ejected in Game 1, even though the Warriors still won. And he did a really good job playing defense on KD in Game 2 as the Clippers made that insane 31-point comeback. KD, though, reminded us all, like he said in the press conference the rest of the series, that I'm Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He's Patrick Beverley. What are we talking about?
Yeah, Kevin Durant gave us the you know who I am. Like, I'm Kevin Durant, and he proved who he was. 38 in Game 3, 33 in Game 4. Game 5, the Clippers won, but Durant still drops 45, and then he caps it off with that masterpiece 50 bomb as the Warriors take them out in 6. I mean, to be fair, the Clippers had no chance in this series, and they put up a much better fight than we would have thought, but it was so funny how at first it was like, oh, is Pat Bev kind of under KD's skin, and then KD just torches him the rest of the series.
Game 3 is fucking hilarious because just it's constantly KD hitting like jumper after jumper, and then it always just pans to Pat Bev on the sideline, just looking like he's about to cry. Like, looking like he's about to be full-blown in tears on the sideline.
During that offseason, though, the Clippers had new life. They added Kawhi and Paul George. That gave Patrick Beverley a lot of room to talk, and for those guys to basically try and cash the checks that he was writing.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've made a few videos on this era of Clipper basketball, and we'll probably get a few more in the future, but I mean, needless to say, this era didn't really go as planned, but it started off with Pat Bev telling Steph Curry, two-time defending NBA champion Steph Curry, two-time 5-time league MVP Steph Curry. You had the last 5 years. The next 5 years are mine. Not ours. Not Kawhi and Paul George's. Not the Clippers. Mine. The guy at this point who's probably averaged like 9 points per game for his career.
I mean, I know you got to be delusional to make the NBA. I mean, you got to have some self-confidence for sure, but what was going to happen in his mind? Was he going to like take over and be a 3-time MVP and champion after that? Like,
well, Steph's response is, dude, aren't you 31?
Right.
Like, you're not taking some massive leap into superstardom or anything.
And then we got the satisfying moment where the Clippers blow that 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the second round. And Pat Bev, of course, he was going to be one of the Clippers players that still to this day is yapping about how if the bubble didn't happen, they would have won the title. Of course, we've said it so many times. It's just flat out embarrassing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They all come up with a different reason, too. You can keep yapping all you want about how you would have won the title. You didn't. You didn't win the title. You didn't. That all is widely publicized because, of course, all the former Clippers have like podcasts that they can't stop shilling. But what's less known is that when the players were considering like leaving the bubble after the Jacob Blake shooting, they had a big meeting with reps from the NBA PA, and Michelle Roberts, the VP of the Players Association, was giving like a presentation to all the players about like the financial implications of leaving the bubble. And Pat Bev apparently interrupted her on multiple occasions. Now, I will say, you know, obviously very emotionally charged environment, so I'll give him a little bit of a break. But what I won't give him a break for is when Roberts asked if she could continue making her presentation, and Pat Bev responded, "No, I pay your salary." What the fuck kind of response to that? And apparently this prompted a big response from the other players because Michelle Roberts is a very, very respected leader of the Players Association. The other players are basically like, dude, what the what? No, you can't talk to her like that.
I mean, you can't say it, and also it's a flat out lie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron might help pay that salary, and
Steph might.
yeah, they might be the guys contributing to that. And obviously, yeah, she's very respected. She's doing her job. She pays her own salary, but that is just flat out embarrassing that he'd do that. Next season, though, he did help the Clippers make the conference finals, and he played pretty well in that series defending Chris Paul until Chris Paul dropped 41 on his dome, hit 7 threes.
Until Chris Paul played the game of his life.
Yeah, that last 3 completely pissed him off, so he decided, you know what, I'm just gonna shove the dude in the back when he's not looking.
At least shove him to his face if you're
Right.
gonna shove him. Like, don't wait till his back is turned and shove him. Like, come on, dude. And Pat Bev has gone on JJ Redick's podcast and said that it was out of pure frustration. And he tried to justify it by saying that CP3 is a dirty player, but, you know, he's slick about it, which, I mean, he's not wrong. But again, Pat Bev, be slick about it. The dude's back is turned. Like, everyone is walking to the huddles. Like, everyone's like, all right, play's dead, whatever. And you just fucking shove the guy. And what's even more ridiculous is Chris Paul walks past him, and you can see by the replay, he doesn't say anything. Pat Bev just shoves him for no reason.
And then he followed that up with that weird like ESPN tour he was going on where
Yeah.
he called Chris Paul a cone on defense, which maybe Chris Paul at that point in his career wasn't the defender he once was, but we're talking about a guy who's 7-time all-defensive first teamer, one of the better perimeter defenders of this century. Like, dude, stop.
Yeah, exactly. 21 offseason, though, he was traded to Minnesota. Really only the big memorable moment from his Wolves tenure was after they beat the Clippers in the play-in tournament, him celebrating like he just won the Super Bowl, the NBA championship, the World Cup, the World Series, and World War II all at the same time. I honestly don't even really have a problem with this. One, it gave us an all-time meme, like a meme that is still being used to this day. And also, one of the biggest worries from fans like us is that we as fans care more about the games than the athletes do. And it's always great to see athletes really, really caring about winning and losing. So honestly, I have no problem with this.
And wasn't that the first time they made the playoffs
Yeah.
since like KG?
Yes,
So.
making the playoffs for the Timberwolves at that point was a huge deal.
Yeah, it's different now. They're a much better team now. But at that moment, yeah, that was a huge deal. In the first round series against Memphis, he was spamming that too small celebration on Ja. They eventually go down to the Grizzlies, and that series wasn't enough for the Timberwolves to keep him. They trade him to Utah, and then 2 months later, he's rerouted to the Lakers. And it took only a month in that Lakers uniform to get in hot water once again. He shoulder checked DeAndre Ayton, which, I mean, to be fair, that was kind of impressive.
Honestly, yeah.
Being that small going up against DeAndre Ayton, but it was not warranted whatsoever.
Yeah, because Aiden wasn't even the guy that might have fouled Austin Reeves. Like, Reeves goes in, they don't even call a foul, but it was Booker who was defending him. Like, Aiden's just standing there, like, looking around, and Pat Bev just comes in and bang, like, shoulder checks him. Again, for no discernible reason. For what, standing over him? Like, come on. Caught a 3-game suspension for that, too.
Yeah, deserved.
There was that incredible moment, though, where he took the camera and showed it to the ref to show that LeBron was fouled against the Celtics, though. That, Pat Bev, love that. That is all time right there.
The Lakers run, though, wouldn't even last to the end of the season. He was traded to Orlando at the deadline, then he got bought out and went to the Bulls. Only real moment we remember from there was when he hit the too small celebration on LeBron, and then Austin Reeves, like a week later, hit it back on him. He signs with the 76ers next season, and aside from like the occasional spat, not much happened with the 76ers, but if you're keeping track, this is now the 5th team in 4 seasons, so at one point he was one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, a valuable player.
Now he's a journeyman.
Yeah, at this point in his league, he was just kind of getting tossed around.
Yeah, and up to this point, like his reputation wasn't great, but most still acknowledged that it was kind of just like his gimmick. Like, oh, that's just Pat Bev for you. Like, he's an irritant. He gets under your skin. He's physical. He's someone that I've always heard the thing that's said about like him and Draymond is you hate playing against him, but you love him if he's on your team. Well, that goodwill ran out at the end of his last NBA season. He was traded to the Bucks at midseason in 2024, and in Game 6 against the Pacers in the first round, what's probably going to be his final NBA game, he went out in embarrassing fashion. During the waning moments of that game, he just throws a ball into the stands for no reason. It hits a lady in the face. The fans, to their credit, very calmly just like throw him the ball back when Pat Bev's asking for it, and he just fires the ball back into the crowd again. And apparently the dreaded phrase that the fan dared to utter that was so reprehensible was Cancun on 3. I mean, get the firing squads, am I right? Can't have that.
And to make it even worse, in the post-game press conference, dude refused to answer questions from Belinda Adams because she wasn't subscribed to the pod.
You know, with the ball throwing thing, I could almost excuse it if like the ball goes into the stands and the fan just pelts him with the ball for no reason. I could almost excuse that because at that point, Pat Bev isn't doing anything and the fan's the instigator and he'd just be defending himself. No, he throws the ball into the stands, the fan doesn't react at all, in fact gives him the ball back, and Pat Bev just throws the ball right back him again. That is inexcusable. And then the thing with Melinda Adams, who by the way handled it incredibly. Pat Bev has said in his own podcast that like the reason he did it was that he'd done it in the past in kind of like a more tongue-in-cheek way with someone who like wanted to interview him or when he was being interviewed. In fact, a lot of times when he got post-game interviews, he would always be like, hey yo, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the pod. Like he was constantly doing that. So that was his reason. But I'm gonna borrow a quick little quote from Joker here.
Hey Greenwood, what's the secret to good comedy? Timing.
This was not good timing at all, especially because his body language, the way he says it, like he does not give off the impression whatsoever that he's joking.
Well, bro was just salty at this point.
Yeah.
Checking back in on that 5-year reign he was gonna have, 1 conference finals appearance, 2 second round exits, a first round exit, missed the playoffs, all while playing for 6 different teams in 5 seasons.
Meanwhile, Steph went and won another title.
Yep, won another title. He's about to win a gold medal. Still one of the best players in the league. And going back to like the pod, it is kind of funny that shit's basically stagnated.
Oh yeah, big time. Like he was averaging like 10 to 25,000 subs a month according to Social Blade and like 10 to 20 million views a month. Now he's had no subscriber growth in the past month and he's only gotten a little less than 1 million views in the last month. So brilliant marketing strategy right there from Pat Bev.
And overall, like, good riddance. Like,
yeah, rest in piss, won't be missed.
We don't need him in the NBA anymore. He was fun for a while, and like I just said in the Embiid video, you need some villains. Sometimes the role player is gonna be the villain, but the dude's just immaturity, especially in that last game. It's like, it's honestly pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing overseas now, and if he ever does return to the NBA, he's got that 4-game suspension waiting for him.
That's so funny.
That's the video, guys. What do you make of Patrick Beverley's NBA career? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.